The Morning Dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
The only place for extended thoughts from Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio is Morning Dump. And that's why we're here, Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, at Hail Varsity Club, the best venue to watch sporting events. Bring your family here. It's Tuesday. It's also the day that the U.S. Takes on Iran. A tie or a win moves them out of the group stage. So maybe stop by. Is that lunch or is that dinner? What time do they play?
Iran. What time is it in Qatar?
No.
Or what time is it here?
What time is it here?
It's lunch.
Is it
unless
lunch?
You're like from Western Nebraska, where you
unless
call
you're getting
it
the senior
dinner,
citizen discount.
Unless you call it lunch dinner.
So you got the time?
It's 1 o'clock, right?
1 o'clock? Okay, that's all I was asking, man.
Well, I'm not sure.
See, God spoke again. The lights are blinking.
He's telling me to be kind. The game is at 1 o'clock.
There you go. He was telling you were right. Why are you doubting?
Because you have this delivery where sometimes I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. And I would assume
in regards to
soccer
what?
guy that got the sign from God about Pulisic today.
Yep. Lay money on Pulisic goal. A Pulisic goal, that's where you're laying your money today. The lights flashed twice on us here at Hail Varsity Club saying, yes, lock it in, ride it with me, because I'm doing it no matter what. But aside from that, if you come to Hail Varsity Club, make sure you sign up to get a subscription to Hail Varsity. Great team of riders pushing out tons of content regarding the Matt Rule press conference and expectations for the upcoming season, and then also just information about Nebraska men's and women's basketball, plus the Huskers volleyball team as well. But aside from all of that, but before I get there, use promo code AR for monthly, yearly DB when you sign up
Team
with your
DB. Hey.
Subscription. Aside from all of that, I was actually just thinking about this because you had mentioned it off air when we were talking on Coffee and Cream.
Should you let our listeners know that this is a West Side logo?
Yeah, can we just settle that now? Hey,
dude, I've been settling this for 3 years. I'm not sure how people don't get it.
So there's a red W on the left side of Damon's chest.
And everybody's like, I can't look at that Wisconsin logo.
I know.
And I'm thinking to myself, either you're not very smart or you need new – no, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like it's one of two things. You either need new material and you're trying to be funny and you're not, or you're not very smart. Because there's a clear distinction.
Is it getting annoying now?
Yeah. So if you don't take the time, I don't have time. Like it's beyond the point of even being funny.
It's one thing if you...
It's old. The joke is old. We're going on almost 4 years now. The joke is old.
It's one thing if you moved to Omaha,
especially if I don't know you,
from Alabama, and you all of a sudden get hired at the same company DB's working at. You know DB used to play running back at Nebraska, and you see him wearing this. Then it warrants a question. Like, hey, DB, what's the jacket? Like, is that Wisconsin? And then DB answers the question.
Is that Wisconsin, or are you happy to see me? I'm happy to see you, bud.
So what DB's kind of saying is, stop it.
Or, get current. Like, who you been, Rip Van Twinkle? Like, come from under the rock.
My goodness. Coming out of nowhere this morning, too, was Zoe approaching you to calm down as you're typing your notes.
Yeah, basically it was be quiet out here. And it was just me, one of the dogs, a big heavy bone on a wooden floor. But apparently at 4-something in the morning, Zoe is not about that life. So she tells me to be quiet, and she goes back in her room and closes the door. I'm not even saying anything, nor is the television on. I'm barely typing. It's the dog dragging the bone across the floor.
Did she scare you at all, though? Or did you
No, because I can hear her. Because she plays like this. It's super annoying.
Oh, like a lullaby.
I tried to get her to go back to the ocean waves crashing, but she likes this dun, 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 dun. So when the door opens, I can hear it. I was like, oh, God, here comes the tear.
So the reason I brought that up is I was at home a couple of days ago, and my girlfriend, Ashley, her goal is always to scare me.
Mary Kate and Ashley.
You'll never be able to live. That's like the West Side logo right there.
What, that song? Saying that lyric, yeah. And that's Yee, right? So I should probably refrain from doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, unless you're in support
of what? Good music.
I'm not going to judge you either way.
I see that brush you're trying to paint me in that corner with. Not happening. I'm dodging and weaving.
Yeah, you are. That's why you were a good running back.
Just running into things. That's what I do.
So her goal is always to scare me. And the other day, like, I was getting out of my bathroom, opened the door. She's like, right there. Mm-hmm. And she's like, did I scare you? And I'm like, no, I was actually, like, more, like, just kind of shocked to see you. But, like, I don't jump. I have a really bad reaction time.
Right there!
And so all the time in life, she tries to scare me.
Like delayed?
So are you easily scared? Because I don't even have a delayed reaction. Like, I just won't react.
Am I easily scared? No. And I'm super, like, I mean, you're talking to Mr. Paranoid, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm super cognizant of my surroundings. I always know where I am, kind of what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. No.
Don't get me wrong. I can be scared, like in a scary movie. Like if I know the music's like leading up, like pumping my heart a little bit to jump. Like if I know something's coming, then I get more scared than if I don't know what's coming, which is wild.
So I know you're not into this series right now, but I'm watching The Watcher.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not into it, but I was.
It's intense, but it's not what I would call scary. Mm-hmm. I have yet to be like,
It's one of those, like, thriller
And I just
movies.
finished Stranger Things
Love that
like
show.
4 weeks ago. Yeah, you had some references that I hadn't quite gotten to yet, especially around Halloween. But I'm kind of up to speed now, so I feel like we can go Stranger Things together.
Sweet.
I jumped a couple times in that, I'd say.
Stranger Things?
Yeah, like, whoa.
Well, and there are moments for me that I do that, but just more often than not, I'm not much of a jumper.
I watched a couple of bad, not scary movies and was mad I didn't jump, like Halloween Ends, which was borderline terrible.
I haven't seen that.
It wasn't borderline. It was.
I'm a Halloween guy. Like, I'm a big Michael Myers guy. Like, I would take, like, if it was Jason, Michael Myers, and, like, Freddy Krueger, I'm, like, team mad at my sister all day long. So, wait, can I say that?
Sure. We're on a podcast. You can say whatever now.
I'm team Michael Myers.
No, so, that just, it kind of sparked me thinking that because I'm like, you mentioned that Zoe kind of just came out of nowhere and said, like, hey, calm down. But
with a big old lion mane hair.
I'm like, are you a jumpy person? Out there, are you a jumpy person? That's kind of what I want to know.
I am not a jumpy person.
No. Now, somebody that is calm, cool, and collected at all points, some may call him Mr. Unlimited. Let's ride, Russell Wilson. And Russ Bus prompted a good thought today from somebody on Twitter, and it got a lot of reaction. Is Russell Wilson the worst trade in NFL history? And as I sat back and thought about it, it's so easy to latch on to the recency of something and say, like, yes, it is. But before you just make your assumption or maybe your verdict, go back and look at some other trades. And
well, there's three in particular, so I'll let you go. You go one, I'll go one that you think is worse, because there's a handful.
The Randy Moss trade.
Is that Raiders?
The Raiders, when they gave him to the Patriots for, like a 4th-round pick or something?
Yeah,
that was bad.
It wasn't that bad.
The eye roll. I wish you could have seen the eye roll.
Mr. Raiders.
That's one. What's your one?
That's your number one?
No. I'm saying, like, that's a bad one.
So how about Steve Young going for a 2nd and a 4th to the Niners from Tampa Bay? That's pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And it had only been 2 iffy years for Steve Young, but the Niners basically stole him.
I also think a very recent trade, David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins, was not so great.
And DJ just couldn't stay healthy.
And he was like that in Arizona.
Yeah, he was like that.
So I couldn't believe that trade was even signed.
He was definitely like that. I think so how about this one? Because this is in my wheelhouse. Because I think I was just getting ready to get cut from after a tryout in Washington when Ryan Leaf.
I was going to get to that when they traded up for him.
One spot.
Mm-hmm. You know who else did that?
For Eric Metcalf, who had been a multi-time Pro Bowl guy, a 1st and a 2nd.
Who else did that?
bad. One spot.
Who else did that like 20 years later?
20 years, which would have been 07.
Probably the Raiders.
No. 20 years later would have been like 2017.
Oh, yeah, 2017. Oh, yeah, that's right, 97. Drawing a blank.
Chicago Bears. Mitchell Trubisky. They trade up one pick with the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, you have two. Because you know what I thought you were going to say about the Bears? Rick Meyer.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't good. That was not good. Would we give him a first-round pick for him or something? Yeah, not good.
Yeah. But that's still,
and that was right when I was born. That was like late 90s.
In the most popular one, I don't know if this is the worst because I know everybody's going to go the Herschel Walker one or Ricky Williams. But the one that I remember the most, because, again, the time frame and being impressionable, and Hinton was a good tackle. But Peyton Manning going for Hinton, I think it was Hinton, Harmon, and a 1. Like nowadays, that would be borderline. That would be like grand larceny. You would get locked up for that. If you knew that, and you obviously don't know that you're getting a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, but those picks go for at least multiple 1s, right? I mean, we've seen it happen, but that one sticks out in my just because it was right there in those impressionable days.
96. This one kind of hits a local tie here. But the Rams traded Sean Gilbert for a first-round pick, and they took Lawrence Phillips in that draft.
Ooh, my old teammate.
Lawrence Phillips.
On paper, was a fantastic selection. Ooh.
Yeah. Off-field issues aside, correct.
The greatest runner that I'd ever seen live. I mean, and that includes Rozier, who I saw up close, especially in Nebraska history.
I'm reading this right here, and this is, like I said, well before – I shouldn't say well before my time, but it was before me. So, yes, I knew Lawrence Phillips lasted a year, but it says Phillips spurred the team to trade Jerome Bettis.
So, the Steelers in 97 got Bettis. Boy, you're testing me.
Well, I don't know. This is like
So, I
fresh.
think the Steelers got Bettis for a 4th-round pick.
Hall of Fame running back.
But gosh, I got to remember. So I think it was a 4th-round pick, and the Rams were kind of flirting with him playing fullback. The Steelers got back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons out of him right after that, and it was like, yeah, I think they got him for a 4th. It was something like that, but yeah, that was a fantastic
3rd-round pick. You were close.
That's a fantastic move for.
Bettis was traded to the Steelers with a 3rd-round pick in exchange for the Steelers' 2nd-round pick and 4th-round pick.
Yeah,
so
they got it. Right. They got Bettis in a 3rd for a 2nd and a 4th. I'll take that deal every day that it's.
Well, sure. And that's something we talk about, especially today too. When we see players get traded, because the new wave of NFL players is, hey, once they get to where they should get big money, let's just trade them. Like, let's go after the new young guy. But that's where it prompts a trade. So in the example of the Bears trading Roquan Smith to the Ravens, they get a 2nd-round pick?
Yeah.
So can you find a Roquan Smith in the 2nd round?
So I felt like that about Minkah Fitzpatrick because that conditional pick was going to be I think it turned out to be an 11. And I was like, well, you're going to get a Minkah Fitzpatrick with the top 11 picks. I felt like the answer to that was no. So I liked the trade. They're going to get a conditional pick again this year from can't remember what the deal was, but they're going to get a conditional pick. It might have been the Ravens that they're getting it from, which is in the 40 or 41 or something like that. And I was hoping to somehow package that and get a guy like Jack Campbell or somebody. But it's weird how, as I've gotten older, we're now seeing players move for picks. There was this stretch, probably like about 10 years ago for you, where picks were considered over. Well, we just saw the Rams 3 years ago basically mortgage the farm for picks. We saw Herschel Walker move for picks. We saw Ricky Williams move for picks. So picks didn't have a lot of value. But the last 4 or 5 years, I think, in the NFL, we have seen draft picks now have value again.
Nobody plays the NFL like I play Madden. I trade all my draft picks whenever I play Madden.
Trying to win?
To win, right? Nobody really does that anymore. Until now, right? So you look at the trade with Russell Wilson, right? The Broncos acquire Russell Wilson, and here's what the Broncos have to give to the Seahawks. Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick.
It's a fleece job. Total fleece job.
Think about the trades that
Drew Lock was like.
Think about the trades Denver makes.
A throw-in as a first-round quarterback. Fant, Shelby, and the picks.
In a matter of 3 years, Denver, the football team, gave up their future for Russell Wilson, who has 8 touchdown passes this year, and
let's ride.
Colorado, the baseball team, gives Nolan Arenado and $40 million away.
You're not going to let that go, are you?
Nope. For Austin Gomber and company.
The St. Louis fan is, but you should be tickled with that.
I am, and that's I feel for Seahawks fans right now because they won the trade.
You're always going to be going back to that, as he just racked up more hardware this year.
Why wouldn't I?
Is the Broncos deal overshadowed by the history that they've had in the past with getting a quarterback minus the Hall of Famer that they had? I'm talking like in the last 20, 25 years.
Well, they've been terrible with quarterbacks.
That's what I'm saying.
Of renting Manning to hand the ball off and the twilight years of Elway. I mean, that's really it.
Yeah. I don't even remember how good Jay Cutler was there. Was he relatively successful? Because
not as good as he was as a Bear.
That's 100% true. We gave up Kyle Orton for him.
A Boilermaker that was mentioned this morning on our earlier show with Coffee and Cream by Tom Dienhart.
Sure was.
Putting Aiden
a big list.
Dude, how about though? Did that catch you off guard? He started rattling off Purdue quarterbacks, and I was like, oh yeah, and him too. Oh, because I think people automatically think Breeze and Harmon.
Well, you think Breeze for one, no doubt.
Well, I'm old, so I think.
But I'm saying like the mass audience nowadays thinks Breeze, no doubt.
And it was like he went about 5-6 deep and included Aiden O'Connell in that lore, who, again, is a 28-year senior, married already, 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, over 3,000 yards, and they're playing for a Big Ten championship.
I'd love to know the quarterbacks that are married and the success they have when it becomes bowl season.
So it kind of settles them down or what?
I don't know. I just don't.
Honey, are we going to a bowl game this year?
I'm telling you this. The last quarterback that I can remember, you know what, I may be making a major assumption here, and he may not have been married, but Brandon Weeden, when he was at Oklahoma State, I'm pretty sure that dude was married. Was he not?
Yeah.
So Brandon Weeden, A.J. McCarron was also somebody that was married, right? Or did he just have a long-time girlfriend?
Yeah, I think he just had a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we'll go with Brandon Weeden, but not a majorly successful quarterback. Aiden O'Connell. I don't know if being married and going to the NFL is your future.
How good was he against Nebraska that night last year?
Really good.
Holy smokes.
Really,
talk about throwing guys
really
open.
Good.
No
Look
sense
what
in
just popped up on my Twitter page. Devontae Adams and Jock Peterson playing high school football together. Yeah. Isn't it crazy how many athletes, whether they play what sport they play today, have played together at some point in time?
Absolutely.
When you look back and think, how did this team have these 3 pitchers on the same team in California?
I played with that guy, and I played with that guy, and I played with that guy.
Or I played against him.
Yeah. Oh, no, I understand. I get it. It's a long list.
It is.
Laundry list. So your worst trade ever was – is it the Herschel Walker deal? Or Ricky Williams? No, not – I mean –
for me, like
Dallas won a Super Bowl off the Herschel Walker trade.
They did. For me, I have to go with something more recent just because, like, that's what I lived, right? So I don't want to sit back and say, like, oh, because history tells me that it's Herschel Walker, that I'm going to pick Herschel Walker.
Some would argue 3 Super Bowls.
I would say
I got into a nice heated debate
about that.
Well, when to give a college coach that's coaching the NFL credit and when to take it away. Like Barry Switzer, this was on the heels of Matt Rule yesterday, and I was making the case. I'm like, Barry Switzer can't get credit for winning a Super Bowl because it wasn't his players, but other coaches can sure get a fair share of the Lions' blame when they don't have good players and they're coming from, college to pro. So don't cherry pick the narrative that fits you, right?
Right. Herschel Walker, that was a bus of players and picks that went to the Cowboys too from the Vikings, right?
And I wouldn't necessarily call that the peak of his career either.
How old was he when he got traded?
Hirsch, he had come from Minnesota, right? I'm asking Shane,
like I know.
Well, some of that weird stuff, though, Shane. Like, surprisingly, Herschel Walker politics is what pops up. Oh wow, can you believe that?
He's been in a lot of debates lately.
Yeah,
so.
I'm going to go ahead and stick to sports. He was Minnesota after Dallas. So Dallas was 96 to. He didn't go to Dallas until he was 34 in 1996.
And they traded him for a 36-year-old running back.
So he had a brief stint with Minnesota before that, then Philly for a year, then the Giants, then Dallas.
Did he go off with Dallas?
No, I wouldn't call it going off. At no point did he rush for more than...
I'm going to guess 900.
So Herschel Walker and 4 draft picks were traded to the Vikings.
No, so his best year was his first stint with Dallas in 88 when he rushed for 1,500 yards. Didn't rush for 1,000 yards again until 92 with Philadelphia. How many 1,000-yard seasons do you think Herschel Walker's had?
3.
2.
Yeah, it's never.
I didn't even get to guess.
2. And they're 4 years apart.
Yeah.
That's some Adrian Peterson type stuff.
That's crazy.
Right?
I'm reading here. Minnesota traded away 5 players, 3 first-round draft picks, 3 second-round draft picks, a third-round pick, and a 6th-round pick for a 36-year-old running back.
You'll never see that again. It was unbelievable.
And did he get paid?
Did he get paid?
Yeah, Herschel? Did he just get, at the time, was it just an insane amount?
I'm sure that he got paid in that deal. You would not trade away your franchise to not pay that guy.
I don't. You know what? That's a good question. Because, so, let me look at this. Because that's a good question. He never, broke the bank.
Hey, what about the RG3 trade-up?
Oh, yeah. It was because that was
3 first-round picks, right?
Gosh, if he doesn't tear his ACL, though.
Superstar.
Probably.
He was looking like an absolute superstar. But, hey, the Rams got 3 first-round picks for that. How much did Washington jump up in that draft to get him?
Was it 10 spots? Did they go from 13 to 3 or something like that?
Well, he was the first overall pick.
From 10 to 1?
I can't remember, but 3 first-round picks, it wasn't any more than 10 spots. I would venture to say it could have been less than 10.
Yeah, I don't know. So, here, Shane. Herschel Walker, between 2021 and 20, Herschel Walker under almost $4 million. From his contracts. So let me read through this real quick, Shane. The top NFL and USFL contracts for Herschel Walker. The running back took this opportunity. Herschel Walker accepted a 3-year, $5 million contract from the Generals, which at the time was a ton. This estimated that he probably made more than $15 million over his 16-year NFL career.
See, so the Vikings really didn't. They didn't really.
So when you asked me that, I knew it wasn't about the money Herschel got. It was more about the picks and kind of where he was.
So on the other side, even though it didn't amount to anything, it really didn't. It didn't cost them anything in the end.
Well, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, $1 million a year. That USFL contract was monster.
I'm just saying it didn't cost the team that he went to.
Yeah. Correct. Unless you're factoring in inflation. You know what I mean?
This is so hard to read. I think they only jumped up DB 5 spots, 4 or 5 spots. So reading this, bear with us. St. Louis had the second pick, but this says from Washington via St. Louis, and they must have traded it to Dallas.
From 6 to 2?
So they moved from 6 to 2 for 3 first-round picks.
I thought off the top, just trying to remember, this is why you don't do impromptu subject titles.
But at
it
the
just
same
shows
time,
our range.
But at the same time,
for some reason, I thought they went from 10 to 3.
How great is it for our listeners out there to kind of like go through this process with us? Like I admire that when I listen to podcasts across the nation where people do impromptu stuff and they're like, oh, let's dig more into this.
Yeah, just
nobody knows all this information.
The casual rabbit hole we just went down.
Nobody knows all this stuff.
That's all right. We're just showing off our versatility.
Well, and the nice thing about that is, if you go back to Herschel, you're really on the cusp of the draft picks starting to become more and more valuable to a team than they were even 5 years before that.
Landing the plane where we started. The value of draft picks now in 2022 versus 2017.
Yeah.
And we'll get into draft picks more as the NFL draft approaches, because on Coffee and Cream, we'll talk about it more. I don't want to talk about it here because it's deserving to be a segment on Coffee and Cream. But Trey Palmer drove his draft stock through the roof. As the season went on.
And he's going to test well, too.
And I can't wait to see what he does at the Combine.
He's going to test well.
What do you think he'll score in the Wonderlic test?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's going to matter. He's going to be a...
I know. The Wonderlic test is the Wonderlic test.
He's going to be a 23.
23?
23, 24. I don't know. I'm guessing.
We'll set it at 23 and a half.
23 and a half. What's he going to run in a 40? Sub 4,
yeah,
4, 7.
Easy.
It'll be a low 4, 4.
I can't wait to watch him kind of excel at the Combine, and then watch. At the start of the year, he started as a sleeper when it became NFL draft conversation. Way too early NFL draft talks. But moving up throughout the season, the work that he did with this football team is less than miraculous. More than miraculous.
Something to behold.
That's the way to put it.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's Morning Dump this morning. Extended conversation, like I said, from Coffee and Cream in the morning. That's what you're going to get every time you join us here for this podcast. Make sure to check out Benning Bites as well, along with the Sports Six-Pack. You can find those all under the Hurrdat Sports umbrella. But when it comes to Coffee and Cream in the morning, you have to go to the Hail Varsity Radio podcast. That's where you can find that show. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. That's Apple, that's Spotify. Thanks for joining us. For DB, myself, Shane Schillerberg, that's it. Wipe, get on with your day. We'll see you tomorrow.